talk about what's behind you. So Sashay, and what's also behind me as well, the Sashay wines. Can you talk about the impetus behind creating that label and bringing it to market?
Yeah, so I was a few years ago, I was looking for, I was like, you know what, I just feel like I haven't done anything new. I feel like I haven't really grown the way that I want to grow, and I needed some source of inspiration. And so I went to the internet and started just searching inspirational events, retreats. And in my search, I came across an event called Celebration of Black Women in Wine. And that just really stopped me in my steps. And I looked more into it and I saw that there was an event in Miami that was in just a few weeks. And I was just like, I have got to be here. So I purchased my ticket, booked a flight. And when I got there, I was so delighted. I saw Black female winemakers and Black female wine brand owners. And that in itself just inspired me because that's something you just don't see every day. And in connecting with these women, they really empowered me to step forward and step up and challenge myself when it comes to my wine game. And so when I got back on that plane to leave Miami to come to the Tri-Cities, I developed Sashay. I wanted a wine brand that was more of an expression of me, that I can work with new varieties that I hadn't worked with before, because Frichette really focuses on Bordeaux varieties. And we've kind of nailed our style, which I absolutely love. But I wanted to work with Syrah, which doesn't really fit into our Frichette portfolio. So I created this label called Sashay, and I wanted it to be approachable and sassy. And I wanted the label and the message on the back of the bottle to inspire other women in just the way that I was inspired when I went over to Miami. So sachet is a word that you can commonly hear in the South when you see ladies and they go, look at you sashaying like you don't have a care in the world. And so I love the word. It's a play on my name, Shae, as well. And so I just wanted to do something that I could have a little fun with.
I love the label too. I think the label is fun, but it's also very, very powerful. You get a sense of, I think, place and provenance and personality. And there's all these things that come through with that creation in terms of what you've created. So kudos to you for creating it and for stepping into your own personality, because I think all of us in business, regardless of what we do, or even if we are in the trade or something outside of it, we can get stuck into our own rut of the things that we know we're good at. And so stepping into that power is really amazing and really great that you're able to bring that to the world. I often joke or say that, winemakers, when they make something, it's like this mark they're making in the world and their legacy they're leaving. And so to me, that feels like for you, it's like this expression of some legacy that you get to hand down when people are opening that bottle.
Yeah, I love the way that you express that. And, for me, I'm not like a painter kind of artist. And so, I had this vision of what I wanted it to look like and what I want people to feel, but I couldn't quite figure out how to get that on paper. And so I met with this bright young artist, Chance Watt, and I just said, hey, let me just tell you what I'm thinking. And can you put this on canvas? And we sat for 2.5 hours over coffee. And I was just like, this is what I'm looking for. And he asked some amazing questions and he came back with that, which I thought, I'm just like, wow, that is a dope piece of art. I love it. It is exactly what I was thinking. How did you know? And he was like, because you told me. We talked about it. So I loved that.
I also love that it comes kind of full circle, that you're able to bring a young artist to the fore in a different way that maybe he wouldn't be recognized. I don't know if he's done labels before for wineries, but or for wines, but that's also a very cool way to put his art out into the world and for people to take note. So that's also really important as we support one another in our endeavors, regardless of race, sex, orientation, whatever that is. But it's really cool that you were able to do that and help him as well bring his expression to the world. So one of the things that I talk to people about when we're having these conversations is just, the wine industry itself, or the beverage, wine, beer, spirits industry in and of itself. It hasn't necessarily been the most welcoming to women, to people of color. How has the experience been for you, and what changes have you seen in order to make the industry more equitable?
Well, I'll speak for the Washington wine industry that I'm in. My experience specifically just with my peers and my colleagues has been positive. So we are, especially here on Red Mountain, the community has been very open and welcoming. And so that part has been a real delight. I had complications when it came to just getting my wine into stores and meeting with trade. You know, I felt a little more dismissed there, especially when I'm at events and I'm pouring. You know, it was just I got passed over, you know, buyers didn't really recognize me as a co-owner or a co-winemaker. And so, you know, I felt a little you know, disrespect is what's coming to mind. But I guess what I kind of felt was like passed over, and it was a little bit, to me, it was embarrassing. And so I just pulled back from doing those events. I rarely went to them. I would help plan those events for an association I was a part of, but I just decided not to focus our brand on that and really take our brand more direct to consumer, where the consumer gets to decide what they want to buy versus someone deciding if my brand could go into a space or not. And I think that served us really, really well. So I did want to separate that. The industry, as far as Washington wine industry, fantastic. But then, you know, some buyers just, you know, I felt really passed over. And changes, you know, I do feel like, especially with the Washington Wine Commission, you know, they've always been, you know, pretty open when it comes to recognizing diversity and inclusion. And I think that they are making real strides now. They're kind of putting their money where their mouth is and just saying, look, this is what we're doing. We recognize it, and we're making decisions on how we use our money and how we market Washington wine, and being incredibly inclusive and really moving and almost like really being very deliberate. That's the word I'm looking for, being extremely deliberate in how they're doing it. So that's really fun to see.
That's great. You know, that piece of intentionality, especially as we try to create change in this industry, is key. Also, just thinking through, you know, people who are making decisions, you know, whether they be buyers or distributors, you know, thinking through, like, what does their customer look like right now? Because the customer is not the same customer it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And there really needs to be some conversations at those seats of power or decision-making to say, hey, is this in the best interest of our customer? And if not, then what? Because your customer is going to go elsewhere. We've seen that time and time again, and especially now in this cancel culture, you know, we're seeing that if consumers don't like what an organization is doing, regardless of how big or how small, they will put their money they will also put their money where their mouth is. And I think for you, it's really interesting too, because you have developed such a loyal following, and people love your wines. So it's really interesting how you've been able to forge your way and say, well, you know, we're not going to deal with all of that to a certain extent. We have our own way we can get to the consumer. So well done on that. Is there anything else you think the consumer needs to know about the wines they purchase, the spirits they purchase, the beers they purchase, or, you know, really how they spend their dollars, particularly in this industry?
You know, it's impressive what consumers are doing. The consumer is a smart consumer, and there's so much information at our fingertips that they're doing a lot of the research. And I've even been educated by the consumer on what goes into products or who's making products. And so, you know, kudos to the consumers we have today, because not only are they doing the homework, but they're also pushing brands to do better. And I certainly appreciate that.